This project begins with a question. When we understand the world more and more through screens, what happens to the way we perceive objects? The starting point of this project comes from my everyday experience. I rely heavily on the internet to understand the world. For me, the internet is not just a tool. It shapes how I see objects, understand them, and build knowledge. But when a real object enters the screen, many physical qualities are compressed. Scale, weight, volume, and touch can be reduced to a flat image. For example, the largest watermelon and the smallest blueberry may appear almost the same size on a screen. This shows a loss of scale. So my central question is, how does digital media change our embodied perception? In the early stage of the research, I analyzed how fruits and vegetables change under media control through three senses: vision, hearing, and touch. I also asked participants to give keywords from these sensory perspectives. From this, I developed three core states: flattened vision, controlled hearing, and missing touch. These three terms later became the sensory framework of the whole project. I am not treating fruit simply as a still life object. I see it as a perceptual object that can be translated and reorganized by media. The current work is called Loss of Scale. It is designed as a browsable and clickable fruit archive, a system that resembles a database or an encyclopedic interface. In this system, fruits no longer appear first through their real physical size. Instead, they are placed into the same visual framework. Their real scale, weight, and volume are suspended and replaced by a unified scale on the screen. Each fruit has 8 maturity stages. Stage 01 represents the most ripe state, while Stage 08 represents the most unripe or green state. Viewers can browse the pages like an archive and read each fruit through translated images, maturity stages, colors, sounds, 3D references, and metadata. When the cursor moves across the two-dimensional image, it is not just a normal hover interaction. It becomes a probe reading the image surface. The interface displays U/V coordinates and also records the speed of the cursor movement. Sound is also triggered through this surface gesture. Slow movement triggers a touch or rubbing sound, while fast movement triggers a cutting sound. The viewer cannot truly touch the apple. They can only hear it through the actions allowed by the system. This responds to the ideas of controlled hearing and missing touch from my earlier research. At the same time, the 3D model in the upper right corner is not the main visual object. It is a reference object. When Map Surface is activated, the probe on the 2D image corresponds to a conceptual point on the 3D apple. This mapping is not accurate UV mapping. It is a reference-only surface correspondence. It shows how a flattened image still attempts to connect back to a three-dimensional object. Theoretically, I draw from Walter Benjamin's essay, The Task of the Translator. Benjamin argues that translation is not simply a copy of the original, but a way for the original to enter a new form of life. This idea helps me understand my own work. I am not trying to represent fruit, I am translating fruit. After a real fruit enters scanning, code, image structures, and interactive systems, it is not fully preserved. Instead, it gains a digital afterlife. From a post-digital perspective, digital media is no longer just a separate technical tool. It has become the default condition through which we understand reality. A fruit can be displayed by screens, classified by interfaces, organized by code, turned into data, and given a new perceptual structure. This project is not an attempt to reject digital media. Instead, I want to observe how digital media shapes the way we understand objects. As we increasingly rely on screens and networks, we are not simply losing the world. We are learning the world again through another system. But in this process, bodily experiences such as scale, weight, volume, and touch may be compressed, replaced, or even forgotten. Loss of Scale tries to make this transformation visible. It does not show what fruit originally is. It shows how fruit is reorganized, reperceived, and retranslated after entering a digital system.